Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to share with you the story of a princess. Her name was Nissa, and she belonged to the Mughal dynasty. Mughals were the people who built Taj Mahal, which is one of the 7 wonders of the world. Another way to relate to the Mughals is through the perfume called Shalimar. The perfume was named after the Shalimar garden built by a 17th century Mughal emperor. His name was Shah Jahan. Shah Jahan happened to be the grandfather of Nissa. Nissa's father's name was Shahanshah Mughaliya Aurangzeb Alamgir. We'll call him Aurangzeb for short. Nissa used to write poetry, and Aurangzeb wanted her to stop writing poetry because in that culture, that long ago, writing poetry for a woman was a no-no. And if the woman happened to be a princess, it was even worse. Aurangzeb knew it well that Nissa was not about to give up writing poetry just because people at that time did not approve of it. He knew that she was going to demand a more intellectual reason for stopping to write poetry. So he summoned his courtiers, told them what his problem was, and ordered them to come up with a reason that he could give to Nissa to make her stop writing poetry. There they were, top-notch intellectuals of the country, putting their heads together to come up with a reason to give to the king, for him to give to the princess, so that she would have to stop writing poetry. The poor princess knew nothing about it. First of all, these people tried to tear her poetry apart. But it was not possible because she wrote beautiful poetry and wrote poetry which was at a very high level of sophistication. To achieve that level of sophistication, a poet or poetess has to write poetry that fits into the rhymes and rhythms of Arabic fa'ilatun fa'ilat. And her poetry beautifully fit into the Arabic rhymes of fa'ilatun fa'ilat. There are 2 ways to accomplish that sophistication in writing poetry. Number 1, through extensive training after it has been established that the person is capable of writing poetry. And the second way is through the very thorough review of literature. When you do thorough review of literature, you don't have to worry about the rhythms and rhymes of fa'ilat and fa'ilat. Your poetry automatically fits into those rhymes and rhythms. Nissa had achieved that status of sophistication through very extensive review of literature. So there was no way possible to tear her poetry apart. These people struggled and struggled and struggled. Many ideas surfaced, but none of them panned out. Finally, they ended up analyzing the very basic structure of poetry, which is that each couplet is composed of two stanzas. One stanza without the other is an incomplete statement. For example, Longfellow wrote, "Heights by great men achieved and kept." If I stopped there, your mind would say, so what? It will beg for more because it's not a complete statement. Heights by great men achieved and kept. Now when I add to it, heights by great men achieved and kept were not by a sudden flight. Now it's a complete statement. Your mind is at rest and is not begging for more. To finish off what Longfellow was saying, heights by great men achieved and kept but not by a sudden flight, but they, while their companions slept, had been toiling all the night. So they said, we are going to get out. We are going to write a stanza which does not need a second stanza to make it a complete statement. We are going to ask her to complete the couplet, and she won't be able to do it. So she will have to stop writing poetry, because then the king can tell her, you are wasting your time. Spend your time on something more worthwhile. So they came up with a stanza in Persian, because that was the prevalent language. That was the prevalent language at that time. The stanza is, "Kas na dide durre ablak majud. Kas na dide durre ablak majud." Nobody has ever seen a naturally occurring precious diamond which is half black and half white. Diamonds are carbon compounds. If they are crystal clear, they are precious. If they are mixed with coal or other impurities, then they are not precious. So they gave the stanza to His Majesty and explained to him how to use it. Next Friday morning, when His Majesty saw the princess at breakfast time, he asked her to stop writing poetry. She said, "But why, Your Majesty?" Please notice that she stopped addressing him as father and started addressing him as His Majesty. What was she doing? She was moving this matter from a family matter into a state matter. She said, "Your Majesty, why should I stop writing poetry?" He said, "Because I don't think the quality of the poetry you write is that great, and I believe you can use your time on doing something else. That will be a better use of your time." She said, "Your Majesty, you are questioning the quality of my poetry without giving me any evidence of it." He said, "Fair enough. I'll give you a test. If you pass the test, then I will never ask you to stop writing poetry again. But if you fail it, then please don't expect me to ask you to stop writing poetry again, because it hurts me very much when I tell you to stop writing poetry, because I know you enjoy writing it." She said, "Your Majesty, that sounds reasonable." So he pretended to be putting a test together. His mind seemed to be focused on doing that, and then after a few moments he came back and told her, "Here is a stanza for you to complete the couplet." Let's say you can take a whole week to complete the couplet, and I expect you to have completed it by next Friday when we meet for breakfast." She agreed, and then the king said, the stanza is, "Kas nadi de durre ablak majud." The poor princess tried and tried and tried all week, but she couldn't complete the couplet. Even in prose, how would you complete it? It's already a complete statement. She started crying and happened to look herself into the mirror and saw two big tears rolling down her rosy cheeks. And she also noticed that they were mixed with surma. Surma is ground stones, black ground stone, which women in that part of the world at that time and even now use as a part of their eye makeup, somewhat comparable to mascara that is used in the Western world today. So, to repeat myself, she saw two big tears rolling down her cheek. They were cheeks and they were mixed with surma, sort of half black and half white. She completed the couplet there and then, but continued to cry and went into the breakfast room. When His Majesty saw her, he went like this, a big sigh of relief. The matter had been resolved. She said, "Not your Majesty, not yet." She sat down and she said, "Kas nadi de durre ablak majud, bajuz ashke butan surma alud." Nobody has ever seen a naturally occurring precious diamond which is half black and half white, except for the jewels, that is tears, that fall from the eyes of beautiful women who are wearing mascara and from whom something very near and dear to their hearts is being taken away. She passed the test and wrote beautiful poetry for the rest of her life. And King kept his promise of never asking her to stop writing poetry again. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your attention to my presentation. Have a good day and goodbye.